I'm Frank Cummings, Frank E Cummings III. There was at one time 3 of us. I'm an artist living here in Long Beach, and my studio and my home is here. And I am part of the Lipton Collection, which will be, some of it will be exhibited here at the Long Beach Museum in September. Irving Lipton was a pediatrician residing in the Valley, and was one of the people who fell in love with artists. He loved the way they think, the way they talk, but especially he loved what they do. And so he, in every sense of the word, was not just a collector, he was a true patron. I met Irv for the first time in, I think it was 1980. I had an exhibition at the Los Angeles Municipal Gallery at Barnesdale Park, and Irv Lipton just walked in. I only heard about Irv Lipton a few days before the exhibition opened. And when he walked in, I'd never met him before, didn't know him. He introduced himself and told me that he was a collector and he was interested in my work. And he started walking around the gallery and said things like, "Oh, I like this piece. I think I want that piece. And, oh, that one over there, that's a nice one too. I like that one." And I'm sitting there kind of at awe, because that had happened once before in my life. Coincidentally, at the Long Beach Museum, my first solo exhibition was at the Long Beach Museum, and it was a struggle to get that exhibition in, dealing with the politics of the educational system and the museum system. But the show opened. The exhibition was reviewed, or my work was reviewed by somebody from the Long Beach Press-Telegram. Her name was Virginia Laddie. And when I got to the museum, because of that article which opened, the article came out on the Sunday issue. It had rained all day Saturday, so we thought this exhibition was going to be washed out. But because of that article, we got there, and there was a line around the block at the Long Beach Museum waiting to get into my exhibition.
Wow.
At that exhibition, a gentleman came in and he said, "Oh, this is nice work." And it was like a supermarket. I want that one, and this one, and this one. He bought the show except for 4 pieces. There were like 30 pieces in the show, and he bought all but 4, and the only reason he didn't buy those because my wife and I refused to sell them. But Dr. Lipton was that kind of person. I don't remember how many pieces he purchased, but it was amazing. It was amazing from the standpoint of one person enjoying the work so much that they want it in their home, which is the ultimate goal of all of us as artists, is that we move them to the point where they want to own them. When I delivered the work to Dr. Lipton's house, and actually he lived in Encino's where he lived. He had called for a few people to come over and have dinner. Dinner became a huge thing with Irv Lipton, because when Irv Lipton called a few people over for dinner, these people were the very cream of the crop in the field of the arts, using wood and other media. These people came from all over the country to have a dinner with Dr. Lipton. And when I got there, I was absolutely astonished, because here at the dinner were people that I had only read about. I knew their work because of publications, word of mouth, but I'd never met them. And here they all were in the same room And we ended up all going out to a restaurant for dinner. It was wonderful. But getting together with Irv Lipton was like that almost every time. It was, he made a simple little luncheon. It became something spectacular that you would never forget. But as a patron, he would not only purchase the work from the artist, but he assisted those artists in endeavors and adventures. I like the word adventures more. The artist would have an idea about something and may not have the money. Irv would give them the money for this project. I remember when there was a really bad fire in the studio, and Irv, among other people, donated quite a bit of money to get this artist back on their feet. I remember there was an artist who decided that moving to computers would be a good thing for their work. And he said, well, what do you need? And he said, well, this, and this, and this. And Irv said, well, how much does that come to? And Irv would sometimes take a deep breath, but then out comes the checkbook, and he would write the check. So he is responsible for the quality of that collection also, because he was getting the very best from these people, and that number grew. It started off a very small group of people, I would say maybe 10 or 12, and I heard stories about when it was just 1 or 2 or 3. The very first person that went into Irv's collection is a rather well-known sculptor from Laguna. His name is Michael Graham. Was the first person that Irv saw some of his work and said, I really like that. And they talked about it and made a purchase. Sometime later, I believe he made another purchase from the same person. And then the magic started, because Irv would say to Michael, I've seen this work over here by this other person. What do you think of that work? And Michael would look at the work, or if he knew the person, and they would have a discussion about who this person was. And next thing you knew, this person had a work in Irv's collection. And that's how it grew. I was privileged to be one of the characters in that scenario, when Irv would ask me to come over, and often it would just be he and I. Backing up a little bit, the kind of person Irv was. He took care of the artist not only financially, but physically. If you got sick, in fact, I owe my life to Dr. Irv Lipton, because I got ill. And the doctors I was going to were saying all kinds of things, and then I went to Irv. And he says, okay, let me make a few phone calls. And next thing I knew, I was being examined by some of the top specialists in the country, because Irv knew who they were. And I would get their opinion, and we'd put those opinions together and decide what procedure would be more appropriate. I would go to Irv's house, and Irv would look at me and say, have you had your flu shot yet? Oh, no, not yet. Come here. And we'd go into the kitchen. He'd open the refrigerator where he had flu medication. He said, drop your pen. And right there in the kitchen, Irv would give me a flu shot. Some of the artists, if they had an illness, they'd call Irv, and Irv would tell them what medications to think about, who to talk to. He was that much into the people